Hello, everyone, and welcome to another NFL Craft Beer Wednesday. That was not nearly as dramatic as I wanted it to be. I'll be candid.
Poor show. That is shocking.
Oh God, that's not a good start to the show. Hello, everyone, and I'm joined by Kenny. Kenny and I done the mid-season preview or Week 7 preview. Thought we would do more. Life got in the way, but the playoffs are starting. Kenny, are you excited?
I am. I have to say that this year hasn't nearly been as I've not been nearly as in touch throughout the year as I had hoped and had foreseen. But yes, playoffs starting on Saturday. I managed to get most of Week 18 in the bag last week, and it really kind of got the juices flowing. So yeah,
it was
very much up for it.
It was a crazy Week 18 actually. I mean, for what a lot of people were assuming was going to be a kind of nothing week for a lot of teams, there was quite a lot of exciting football. I watched Red Zone for the first half and then watched the Rams game in the second slate, and it was pretty exciting. I mean, it was obviously disappointing the Rams lost, but the game quality was pretty good considering there was a lot of like backups and whatever involved.
Yeah, I thought the play was very good, but the overall product was a cracking Week 18. I mean, obviously it was the first one that we've had, but also it was just exciting football. The storylines made it a bit more exciting than it might have been if it was a Week 8 with the same fixtures and same matchups. But it was there was definitely some drama. Obviously coming down to things like the Jags and the Lions, where if you go to the kind of the raw end of the deal there, who's going to get the first overall pick, who's going to, walk away with a win on that night. But then you've got, the Pats game lived up to expectation. The 49ers game was a very, very good game. Not obviously the result you were looking for personally, but it was still a very good game. You've got the Oakland Chargers game. Oakland? Wow, there's the first slip up of the day. The Vegas Chargers game. Let's go for Oakland, San Diego. There we go. Which I thought was...
that was a good game.
I think it had the commentators, etc., made more drama of it than there really was, because I don't see either team really playing for a draw there. And then... I don't know if you saw the Bucks locker room transgressions with obviously them getting the better half of the draw, some might say, with the late window drama there.
Yeah. I didn't actually see that. I didn't see much of the sort of the dramatized stuff. I think it obviously was a better draw for the Bucks. I mean, the Rams, it was a big kind of cock up for the Rams, to be honest with you, to throw away that lead and to lose the game, because they essentially would have been playing the Saints, and no disrespect to the Saints, but the injuries they've had, the quarterback situation with the Rams sort of defensive line, I don't think that they would have found the Saints too difficult to overcome. But now they've got the Cardinals. Now, since you're slipping up, what I was doing there was looking at on Wikipedia, and I'm right in saying this. It's the St. Louis Cardinals against the St. Louis Rams, Kenny, the next game. But
this could make for a very long podcast if we're going down that road.
But if we touch briefly on the teams that went out before we look at the matchups, and the teams that you touched on, the Jaguars, the Colts, for example. Let's talk about the teams that missed out. The Colts.
Wow, just wow.
What happened there?
If you going between week 16 and week 17, they were a shoo-in.
Yeah.
No, I would have placed I didn't, but I would have placed a fair amount of money on them getting a fairly good seed.
Mm-hmm.
And didn't turn up week 17. And I mean, did they even make it into the parking lot?
It was ugly. I mean, obviously, I saw what I saw in Red Zone, the game of choice on Sky Sports. I can't remember what it was, but I didn't bother watching it. It was.
I was watching on Red Zone on
Pittsburgh
Sunday.
Ravens or something, and I didn't watch it anyway. And essentially, on Red Zone, you were getting all these clips of what was going on, and I have absolutely no idea how the Colts recover from this in a way, because they've got money tied in Carson Wentz. They can't feel good about next season.
No.
Because it wasn't even like, a fluky win where maybe Wentz got hurt for a period and the Jags got some ahead and they couldn't get back into it. Wentz was the problem in the end. He was part of the problem.
He was a problem for the middle two quarters, but the Jags did jump out to a good early lead and played a very good game. They're not a good team, but they played a very good game. So I think if we're doling out credit, then I think the Jags did very well. They caught the Colts on a bad game. It can't all go on Wentz. The offensive line was shocking,
and that's not
which doesn't aid the Wentz situation. But again, he didn't aid himself in that respect either. Listened to 2 podcasts throughout the week, and they've said the same. Jags started very well, ended very well, and Wentz was absolutely diabolical in the middle. So yes, it was a bit of both. I think it was Greg Rosenthal that said they just caught them on a bad day.
Yeah.
The Colts caught the Jags on a good day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If that had been played in week 8, probably the Colts would have run away with that game.
Yeah, I think my tweet after the second Wentz touchdown was a picture of King Joffrey from Game of Thrones after he'd been poisoned, starting to choke, because it just didn't go well. It didn't go well their way. I have to say, at least the Chargers, who obviously lost out, went out swinging. Big comeback from them.
I have to say that they didn't charge her.
Yeah,
I don't think they played an amazing game, but they did come back. The last drive was lights out. They've got somebody in Herbert. There's no question there. They have their quarterback of the future, and they've got a good base to build on over this off season and next season. They just didn't do enough on the night, and I think it was our last. Going back to the season preview, when we're looking at the West, I thought the worst team in that division was going to be the Raiders. Move forward 8-9 weeks to the next pod that we did, and my biggest surprise was Derek Carr, and it still is.
Yeah.
I was just waiting every week. When's he going to fall off a cliff? When's he going to get that, one touchdown, 5 picks game? It just never happened.
Yeah. And the big thing for the Raiders, and we'll come on to it in the game and stuff, for them, what they've overcome this season, it goes beyond a coach being, well, for want of a better expression, a bit of a bell end. A big bell end. They've also had the
Henry Ruggs.
The Henry Ruggs thing, which is tragic, and it's lives ruined, and they've had so much to overcome, and I don't know whether it's galvanized the team or whatever it's done. But
I think they did find a decent head coach, if I'm honest.
Well, obviously you listen around the NFL podcast like me, and Bakhtiari, they were talking about whether or not they'll move on from him. I think if they manage to overcome the Bengals, I don't see how they let go of him unless they get. Let's build. Decides he's moving.
I don't think they can even now.
No, well, me neither.
Personally,
I
can see if they made an argument for it, and he was only ever an interim, and He was never really going to be our guy. He was just there as a stop. Fine, fair enough. It's the first. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but I'm positive it's the first time Derek Carr's made the playoffs.
Yeah, because the last time they made the playoffs, Derek Carr was injured, so he didn't play.
Yeah.
So it's the first time they've made the playoffs, that's going to be a really good game on Saturday. So let's talk about that now, since we're already talking about the Raiders. Weirdly, this is a game that I'm super excited about and looking forward to, because you'd said at the start of the season, Sky Sport. I'm a Sky Sports guy just because I watch other sports on it, so I didn't bother getting Game Pass. I just watched Red Zone if it's not one. But if somebody had said Bengals Raiders is on Sunday Night Football or something, I'd be like, well, it's an early night. I've got work on Monday. But this game, I think, is going to be pretty spicy.
It is juicy. And I also don't. It's weird because I don't think there's a lot of. Like you've got some games where you've got a bit of storyline going into it because they played them a couple of weeks ago, or this has happened and he was on the team 2 years ago and now it's a bit. There's no inter-club real juice about it. I think it's one of the top 3 games of the weekend.
Well, I'd say it's the one that is going to offensively be the spiciest. I mean, Joe Burrow and that Bengals offense has really heated up. And of course, they rested all their players against the Browns. They lost to the Browns with their backups in. And I suppose those players have to treat it almost as a bye week because you and I know you're more of an athlete than me, but you know from sports that sometimes resting too much can be as bad as rest. It's
that rest or rust.
Yeah. But I think it's only 1 week. It's not like they were going into the bye in the playoffs as the time.
It's not like they were the number 1 seed going into this plus the bye week plus the extra. It's for the players that were resting. They would have known that going into the week, so they would have treated it as a bye week, letting the backups take full practice. They use them to look at the game plan that they're looking at as much as they could know going into week 18. Obviously, the playoff tree, so to speak, where the seedings were very much still up for grabs, so they couldn't do that much homework. But it's the rest, it's the rehab, it's the preparing the body, preparing the mind. So then, when they came into work on probably Tuesday, take the Monday as a rest day, as a lot of clubs do, come into Tuesday and it's all game plan. There's no rest and rehab. There's no, I've got this niggly knee, or this, Burrow's got a full week to rehab that twinge that he had in week 17, I think it was, or 16 on his knee right at the end of the game. Other players as well. I don't know if there was an issue with Jamar Chase.
Not that I'm aware of. There might very well be. If there is, that's a huge issue for the Bengals. But obviously, it's not one I think they can overcome They can overcome it with Burrow if Chase isn't there. But that link has been awesome this season. I think that's the only.
It's been fun to watch.
Yeah, I think Jamar Chase. At the start of the season said it was Devonta Smith, but I think Jamar Chase should be the offensive rookie of the year this season. I thought it was going to be Devonta Smith because I thought he was more all-rounded. He could do more running plays and stuff and more trick plays, but maybe not having Joe Burrow has probably hurt him in a sense. But Jamar Chase is to me is the offensive rookie of the year, and it's not really a question. But the Raiders' offense hasn't been too slouchy recently either. Okay, you could argue the Chargers' defense is pretty woeful.
I think the thing with the Raiders is they've not really been picking out one guy. I mean, it was Henry Ruggs at the beginning of the year. Mm-hmm. He was definitely like their go-to guy. But now they've got a decent run game. Their offensive line isn't shabby at all. Derek Carr's getting the time to go through his progressions. and make the best decision that he can at the time. I think he's developed over the past couple of years, but also this year not having that slump could be down to the offensive line, the fact that he is getting that time to, let's say, go through his progressions, take his time, not be under duress quite as much to go, no, that pass isn't on, I'm going to take that, or I'm going to run with it, or I'm going to give him a bit of time by sliding up in the pocket or whatever. That has been a big step forward for them as a franchise, not just him as a quarterback, because he is being able to give it to other receivers that are not as well known. So there's no big standout in the stats for any receiver with the Raiders, really, which I think lends to their game plan, and also makes it a harder game for the Bengals to plan against, because it's not just, right, okay, we're going to stack the box, or we're going to play man coverage and double team X, Y, or Z.
Yeah.
I think it gives the fact that, like, I hate to use the analogy of the Patriots, but the Patriots never had, when I've been watching them, they've never had an amazing one guy at wide receiver.
No,
but
not.
They did have very good tight end, Gronk. They did have very good slot receiver, Edelman. Yeah. Very good deep guy that can stop his run, Amendola. Mm-hmm. Utility guy for the occasional play in White.
Yeah.
Going back to one specific season, I think it was the 16 or 17 season. If you take that, you've got no idea where the ball's going, and that aids the Raiders, and also makes it exceptionally difficult for the Bengals to game plan against. Going back to that Patriots, they ran the same play 3 times in a row and hit 3 different receivers. Exactly the same play. So then if you're looking at trying to make a defensive game plan against that, it's bloody hard.
Yeah. Although I have to say, Hunter Renfrow did help me win my fantasy Super Bowl this year. So it's the first time I've ever won.
And congratulations where it's due.
Yeah, thank you. So, I mean, I think the offenses in this game speak for themselves. The Bengals defense has been pretty good this year. Raiders defense, not quite so much. Perhaps at times there's Derek Carr in that offense that's really won them games. So
there's been a lot of shootouts, which could again lend to the Raiders being able to hold up throughout a shootout. Mm-hmm. Whereas the Bengals, if they've got into that, it's either been, yep, we're right on this and we are going to win with Joe Burrow. If he's not had that lights out, all-star, whatever you want to call it, game, it's going to have to be the Bengals defense stopping Carr, stopping that Raiders offense, which again gives you that secondary storyline of what game is it going to be. I don't see it being a 10-6 or a 13-10 game. I can see it being mid-20s both sides.
Yeah. Here's my bold prediction for the game, because I like to give a bold prediction.
Are we picking all the games?
Yeah, I think we're picking all the games. But for this game, I'm picking, and we'll be very bold here. Bengals are going to win. They're going to win 33-30 with an Evan McPherson walk-off field goal.
Okay. Are we putting sandwiches on this?
I don't think I should bet sandwiches.
I'm not sure if there's copyright on the sandwiches, so we'll put a baguette on it or something.
To be fair, I don't think I should bet in food products because, with my husky physique, it's bad if I win and bad if I lose. Lose, I have to buy a sandwich, and if I win, I have to eat it. I'll get another sandwich. What's your prediction for this one?
I've picked the Raiders in this game on the picks this week. And if you give me 2 seconds, just so I'm not going to do a Greg Rosenthal and go, oh well, I'm going to pick this on this one and this on this one because this way I'll win and I can choose whichever result I wanted to say. That's a lie, actually. I've got Cincinnati by 8. I don't have a score line, but I'd say maybe 30-22 to keep it by 8.
So you got Cincinnati winning by 8?
Bengals by 8.
Yeah. Okay, well, you went off the Raiders there pretty quickly. So
I did. Well, I was, yeah. It would not surprise me if the Raiders won, but I'm going to stick with the pick that I've made. I'm not changing it. I'm just, yeah. It needs to be Burrow having a good day, and the fact that he had the week off last week, I think, could lend to that. It was a big emotional win for the Raiders last week, so maybe there's a bit of a drop off there. I'm now just trying to convince myself of the fact that it's going to be a Bengals win.
Yeah. Having just double checked the injury reports, Jamar Chase is not mentioned on the injury report, which
that's good.
He's fine. And Joe Burrow was full practice, and I'm just checking that Evan McPherson has practiced as well, because otherwise they have to sign a kicker off the street. I'm going to look a bit of an idiot. So that's the first game on Saturday, and the one that as the podcast we all both listen to the Around the NFL podcast, calls is kind of calling the old Westivus, although they say it's different now because this is not a standard.
Well, it's Westivus Adult Edition.
Yeah, Westivus Adult Edition. I think this is going to be a proper game, and I do think the Bengals will win, but I think it's going to be close, and I wouldn't be shocked if the Raiders won.
No,
but in many ways, I kind of like the Bengals to win because I don't think they've won a playoff game since text messages were invented. I think that was a crazy stat. The first text message was 1992, and the last time they won a playoff game was 1991. So,
fair play with stats there, boy.
We've got a lot of history this year. And with many things, records being broken. Okay, it's because of an extra game as well, largely. But
that's a record in itself, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, there you go. And so let's have another little sort of moment in history. So that's a nice little Saturday afternoon for those across the pond. For us, it's 9:30. If you fancy staying up, it's an all AFC East wild card round game between the Patriots and the Bills. Bills 11-6, the Patriots 10-7. I don't think their records really matter from the end of the season, other than the fact the Patriots kind of limped in after getting kind of manhandled by the Dolphins again. Which,
well, full disclosure, I will not be staying up for that because I'm working on Sunday, but I will desperately try not to see the score and catch up on Game and 40 as soon as I get up. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I don't know. I kind of feel that the Bills limped in a little bit as well. Yes, they won on Sunday, but past couple of weeks they've not really shown any, I don't think, of their potential. Josh Allen had a fairly good game on the ground, but again, didn't really do much throughout the air on Sunday. I think moving to the Patriots, I think that can't remember the bloody quarterback's name.
Mac Jones.
Got there. I think he made some rookie mistakes on Sunday. Mm-hmm. Yes, okay, it's his first trip into the playoffs, but if there's anybody to take him there and just, I'm not saying put an arm around the shoulder, because I don't think that really that's Belichick's way, but to guide him through just going, it's just a normal week. It's just a normal week. We just go in and, to quote him, do our job. There's nobody better at that than Bill Belichick. So I think that the Patriots are going to be better than they were last week. Absolutely. I think they're going to be far better coached and potentially far better prepared than the Bills are, who might come into it with a bit of we've been doing it for the past couple of years where the Patriots haven't been that great. So maybe a little bit of complacency. And I'll get you to check the injury report. I think that the Bills are just that little bit more banged up than the Patriots are as well. And injuries have to be taken into consideration this year.
Well, there's 2 Bills noted on the injury report. There is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 Patriots on the injury report.
I'm doing well here tonight. Which Bills are
they? Emmanuel Sanders and Effie Obada.
Fairly.
Obada, of course, the Brit.
Yes.
So I'd quite like the Bills to win because of that. And because, like, we all know that a happy dibs is better than a miserable one as well. Our friend Matt Dyball, who's a big Bills fan.
Yep.
Patriots have got a few people on the injury report that might be of concern. I know Damien Harris, there was talk on around an NFL podcast about whether or not he'd be back, because that'd be a huge thing for them. Nick Folk's on the injury report, which is obviously big because you need your kicker in the playoffs. Although he's limited in practice, so he'll probably be fine. Donta Hightower as well, amongst other names, is on there as well. So they've got a few big names on the injury list. Of course, that doesn't mean anything because sometimes there's players who get injured at practice. So we'll see. The main one for the Bills that's not on there is Josh Allen and Stefan Diggs. And Diggs needs to step up now because he's not been particularly dominant this season and the way perhaps he was the season before. The Bills' offense has been a bit lackluster at times. And I know that
I have to say, just as a small counter to that, did you see his touchdown on Sunday?
The Diggs one, I did not. I've not seen it yet. I know that it was called back.
If you know anything about Good Morning Football and some toe drag swag, oh my Lord, if you've got 2 minutes, look it up right now.
Right,
which he is, because I can see him on the camera. It is a tremendous. It's a great play by Allen. He evades some pressure. God knows how he got the ball off.
Yeah.
And it just right in the front right corner of the end zone. Diggs had absolutely no business making it, and he's got that power to that star power ability to just make a play out of nothing. He can do it deep, he can do it short, and then gain yards after catch. He is just one of these players that it's irritating. He is that good. But like you said, there's weeks that he'll just not turn up. You'll have 10 targets for 50 yards, and there'll be weeks he'll have 9 targets for 150 yards.
Yeah.
It's what week are we going to get out of him? And there's a little bit of that in the passing game with Josh Allen as well. He had a fairly good go throughout the year with Sanders before he got injured. He's had weeks with Stefan Diggs where it's just been lights out. How many screens are you operating right now?
I've got 2. I'm trying to work out how to share the screen. That's it. So we could watch the touchdown together.
Oh, fantastic. There we go. Look at this. Near side corner.
Farming his way from one defender.
Oh, yeah, I have seen this. Yeah, that's incredible.
Like, Josh Allen is in the air when the ball is thrown.
Quarterback Josh Allen.
It was reversed immediately. It was given as incomplete, but it was reversed immediately by upstairs. He has no business watching, no business catching this ball.
Right, let's watch it. I shouldn't have all these icons probably. Let's watch it. Oh wow!
Yeah,
catches incredible.
Watch Allen here. He's in the air as he throws. It's ridiculous.
It's the bravery to keep your eyes downfield when you're doing that though. That's something else. I mean, those are the big plays that you need in the playoffs.
That's I think that's the point I'm making. He has that big play ability, whether it's short, whether it's down the field, whether it's in through a completely blind window with bars up. He can make those play. if he turns up.
Yeah.
Was it not Stefan Diggs with a miracle in Minnesota as well?
I think so, yeah. He was
from Case Keenum.
Yeah, from Case Keenum. So, I mean, Stefan Diggs can turn... Case Keenum, people give him a lot of flack, but I think Case Keenum deserves more credit than he gets, to be honest with you.
I think he's a cracking quarterback as long as
I
he's
think
not
if
playing
Case Keenum had played for the Browns in the last 5 weeks of the season, the Browns would have been in the playoffs.
Yeah, I thought he was very good in Minnesota when he played. I thought he's been better than Mayfield in Cleveland. Just don't put him in orange and blue, and I'm happy.
That's fair enough.
Because he was shocking in Denver. But that's not what we're discussing just now.
Yeah, I've seen him play once for the Rams, and I
think never again.
They lost. Yeah, it was against the Giants. It was pretty boring. So let's pick this game. I've got the Bills winning this game, albeit I think it's going to be pretty tight. I think. We talked about the last game where both teams could be in the 20s or 30s. I think this game could be one where they're both in maybe the high teens or the low 20s.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
And I think it'll be tight to the end. I know that the Bills kind of dominated them a couple of weeks ago, and then had that weird wind game where both teams were kind of rubbish and the Patriots kind of came through and won. But
Mac Jones had 6 dropbacks that game, 6 pass attempts in the entire game.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know. It might be that weird wind game was a bit of an aberration for the Patriots, and they really have nothing on the Bills. But I've got the Bills squeaking this one out because I think in Buffalo that crowd's going to be wild. It's Mac Jones' first playoff game. I just think the Bills have got a more talented roster, and a more talented roster I'd pick over, the whimsical ability of Bill Belichick to coach them up, which he'll do really well, and that's why I think it'll be a good game, but I don't think it's going to be a Pats win.
I will see your narrow victory for the Bills, and I'll raise you a 22-17 Pats win.
That's a fair. That's it. I mean, don't get me wrong. If the Pats, again, kind of like the last game, if the Pats were to win, it wouldn't shock me. It would disappoint me, but it wouldn't shock me. I can see
it'll be a 3-touchdown affair with a missed PAT, but a made field goal.
That sounds like perfectly feasible, and the type of game where that Bill Belichick just loves as well. So. Yeah. Although you never know it because he never smiles. He's a grumpy.
Did you hear the interview about him? There's a female reporter.
Is this the one about his New Year's resolutions?
Yeah.
And he was
like, I don't know because that's next week. She comes back the next week and says, "You got any New Year's resolutions?" Like, no.
Someone said that she should be given the Purple Heart for bravery.
Did like that.
And the NFL, if the NFL's anything, it knows how to schedule games, because I guess for us in the UK, the 6 o'clock game on a Sunday should be the most exciting thing that has ever crossed God's green earth. But over there, it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and that's the first game people are going to see. So they're not going to put the best game on early. They want people watching it the wee hours of the morning. And it's Philly Tampa, and I don't know about you, but Philly have been they've been entertaining at times. They've got some good players on their roster, and Jalen Hurts can be pretty. What was it? Someone says Jalen Hurts, the fantasy player, is a different guy to Jalen Hurts, the starting quarterback.
Yes, I couldn't agree more with that. Yeah,
and then we've got. There's no one on the injury report, which is weird because I'm sure Jalen Hurts had some kind of niggle, and that's part of the reason they didn't want to play him. But you've got the added extra of I don't know if you heard today, but if you listen to the NFL podcast today, but apparently Gardner Minshew.
I'm up to date from Sunday, but not today.
All right, so Gardner Minshew apparently walked into his coach's office and said,
"Oh no, that was Sunday's game. That was Sunday's pod." Yeah, he's like, "Put me in, coach."
So, yeah, I mean, this game, I mean, Tom Brady on one side, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Harlem Globetrotters of the NFL in some respects with the talent they've brought in on that roster, against an Eagles team that a lot of people are really surprised by.
Me for one.
Yeah.
I did not see them doing much at all this year, and I still don't see them doing much at all, but I suppose we need to give credit where it's due. They've eked out into the playoffs. God knows how they've done it. Because I genuinely felt in the picks this year that I was picking against them every week.
Yeah. Well,
they've not got a core there that I can trust. They've got pieces, and if they all fire, then yes, the engine will start.
Mm.
But if you've got a wet spark plug, it's not going to go. And any of them at any point can be that wet spark plug. So I think for me, I don't want to jump into the predictions, but I can't see anything more than a high scoring. I wouldn't go as far as say a rout, but I would say high scoring for the Bucs and mediocre scoring for the Eagles if they turn up.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I do agree with you. I think that the Bucs have got too much experience. And also just a better, more talented roster, which again, as I say, we'd always pick.
I think that's inarguable, and they've got, in terms of coach as well.
He's already won one.
Well, he's already won one, but he's also just head and shoulders above. To be honest, I couldn't even name the Eagles coach right now.
Neither could I, to be honest with you.
I think that tells you everything you need to know about that conversation. Which
is a bit embarrassing, but. If the Eagles do win, it's because Jalen Hurts is taken away, cut the mistakes out, done all the amazing things that we've seen him do at times this season.
Yeah, but it has to be his game of the season.
Yeah, it absolutely has to be like Foles. Like Foles. I just talked about the kicker. Now I'm talking about him again.
It sounds like you're flogging a dead horse.
Yeah, Nick Foles.
It's a very, very good joke. It didn't get anywhere close to the respect it deserves. I'm sorry, it doesn't.
What's that?
The fact that I said you were flogging a dead horse about Nick Foles.
Oh, sorry.
Wow.
I didn't get that one. I apologise. It's that porter's went from my head there. I think
it's me that's drinking the hard stuff. Come on now.
I know, but the old Nick Foles run of the Super Bowl run. What?
Good boy.
Yeah, and that's what we need. If the Eagles are to come out of this, and I don't see the Eagles coming out of this.
No,
a one and done scenario, and I think the fact they got to the playoffs.
Is it even one and done? Because they've just got in. They've not even done one yet.
Well, okay, 0 and done.
I don't think they do. I realize I'm coming across strong here, but I don't think they deserve to be in the playoffs, and I can't see anything bar a Bucs handily win here.
Yeah, me neither.
The only person I expect to have a relatively mediocre game is Gronk, because he's already been paid.
That's maybe that's maybe true, but then Gronk's he's thinking about one more Super Bowl run, and then he joins the WWE and beats Brock Lesnar or something. So he's I'm sure he's got his eye on the prize still, and I think everyone's too scared of Tom Brady to not try, frankly. But I don't see them making an absolute mess of this. And
no, I would need to be an absolute meltdown by the Bucs not to progress. Now, the next game, I think it could be a little bit better, depending on obviously who they're playing. But I think I don't want to just give them a hand me down and carry on. But it just seems for me it's the worst game of the week. I genuinely think the Steelers have got a better chance over the Chiefs than the Eagles do over the Bucs.
Well, let's not get crazy.
And that's saying something.
Let's not get crazy, but let's just be honest. Neither of us think there's going to be anyone left from Pennsylvania by the end of this weekend.
Nope.
That being said, I'm just going to quickly say this. When I spoke to Mike Ricchetti at the start of the season, you could go back and listen to that. I described the division as the NFC least.
Yep.
And I would have stood by that. But 2 teams in from the NFC East. The Eagles got there. Mike wasn't certain that we're going to get there. I certainly wasn't certain that we're going to get there. Eagles got there. A tip of the slipper to them. And, you know, at the end of the day, at the end of the season, all the teams they beat had a losing. Yeah, exactly. All the teams they beat had a losing record at the end of the season. So they don't impress me much. And I don't think they're going to be here. And I think comfortably, I see a score of something like 30-9 for in favour of Tampa Bay.
I've got on the picks. I've got Tampa by 14, but that's a hedging of bets. The fact that it could be 19. It's a 5 either way to get the extra bonus point on the system that we play. So for me, if I was to put a score line on it, I think something like 40-26.
That's a good score.
I can see the Eagles getting some points, but not close to what the Bucks will get. I can't see the Bucks getting less than 35.
Fair. The games gradually get the games then gets better at 9:30 for us, or 4:30 at Eastern. I'm not going to try and work out what time it is in Dallas, but the 49ers take on the Cowboys. Now, this is going to be a good game as far as I'm concerned. After watching what the 49ers did against the Rams, and experience how they didn't panic when they were down 17-0. I mean, it certainly helped that when the Rams had third and fall over, they decided to throw a pass from the shotgun, and that kind of sparked the comeback. But we'll talk about the Rams more when we get to it. But the 49ers, they're well coached. Shanahan's brilliant. This game's going to be good. And, the Cowboys, they're exciting. They've dropped 50 points on teams in the last 3 weeks, a couple of times. And, I think this is going to be a cracking game. Both defenses are pretty good as well. So it's kind of a weird one where we have 2 good offenses and 2 good defenses that are, you can't really see who necessarily is totally the dominant group in this game.
This is it's weird for me because I this is equal on the biggest win differential that I've got for the picks this week.
That's interesting.
And I don't disagree with anything you just said.
Yeah, well,
I think it's going to be a tight game, and then down the stretch, we'll say early fourth into down to 8 minutes to go. I can see Dallas putting the foot down on Garoppolo and Kyle Shanahan's team, and I just see them edging it convincingly. I can see it being a very tight game, but the box score at the end of the game showing that the Cowboys won by 50.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me if it's a 15.
And that could be down to 4 minutes of playing time, a pick six, and a long drive. Like a pick six after a long drive.
From Diggs.
Dallas go up by 7, and then the Cowboys defense take over by a silly play by Garoppolo, miss the PAT, eventually go down, get the field goal to kill the game off. That's the scenario I'm hoping for, because I can't stand the 49ers. I can't stand Garoppolo. I've got no idea why. I just think there's far too much news goes through him for the level of quarterback that he is. He's a mid-level quarterback. He has very good games, and he's got awful games.
Well, that's fair. That's fair.
I think the whole Tom Brady replacement thing got blown way out of proportion. And then because of that, everything's now, is he a good quarterback? Is it, if you're having to ask that many times, you've got your answer.
Yeah. No,
how many times do you need to ask if Tom Brady's a good quarterback? If Rodgers, if Mahomes, if Bill's quarterback's completely gone out of my head. Allen. You don't need to ask several times. Yes, they'll have a bad game. Oh, Josh Allen had a bad game. Is he all right? Oh, no, he's absolutely fine. He's just dropped 50 points.
Yeah.
There's not that with Garoppolo. Is he all right? Yeah, he's all right. Is he all right? Yeah, he's all right. Oh, that was a good... Oh, he's terrible.
I think the one thing that you're not giving Garoppolo credit for, though, is the fact that Garoppolo got them to a Super Bowl.
And then, how did he play in that Super Bowl?
Well, he didn't play great, but they did. They
weren't
in the lead.
Great.
Yeah, well, they didn't. I mean, they didn't play great, and they lost. But I mean, ultimately, they were up at one point. And Shanahan trusts them as well. And the one thing that he's got is he took them to a Super Bowl. Dak's never taken the Cowboys deep at all. So I realize it's getting off topic, but what roster did he take them to the Super Bowl with, and what roster has Dak Prescott had? I think that's maybe a down the line podcast if we're having that argument. I don't really think those 2 points can correlate. Well, it's just facts. I mean, whether you make of them what you will, but how can I put it? I'm not with you in the fact I don't see San Francisco getting dicked down in Dallas. And that's a little shout out if Mary Dobbin listens to this podcast for a song recommendation she gave me at one point. But
she will if I tell her to.
But interestingly, in my picks, I've done the Super Bowl challenge thing on NFL.com. I'm not in a picks league or anything. The only road team I have winning is the San Francisco 49ers.
That is interesting.
Yeah, that's the only road team I have picking up a victory on in the first round, in the wild card round.
Oh, you don't have the Eagles winning?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't have the Eagles winning. So yeah, that's in all things being equal, it's the Shanahan thing. I just think that when push comes to shove, Shanahan's going to win them. That it's going to figure out a way.
It's a fair point, and I think that's kind of why you and I do enjoy doing these podcasts. They're not necessarily as frequent as either of us would like due to life, but we do disagree, and we can have that conversation about it. On the flip side of that, I think if you were to give me, as a Broncos fan, I could pick either Shanahan or Kellen Moore. At this point, I'd probably go with Kellen Moore. So I see your point with the Shanahan system and his effect on the game. I think that Kellen Moore's really got that Dallas offense. If it's firing, it is damn good.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm not.
And then you've got I was about to say Dan Campbell there. That's wrong. Dan Quinn on the defensive side for the Cowboys, who, as soon as he stepped away from Atlanta, my Lord, that defensive unit for Dallas is very good.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I suppose the thing for Dan Quinn is maybe he will be gone next year as well. So this is a big test for him. I'm just trying.
It could be make or break for the Cowboys this year, because there's talk of Kellen Moore getting a head coaching job. There's talk of Dan Quinn getting a head coaching job. There also has been talk of the head coach being gone.
Well, I was actually just reminding myself. I thought it was Mike McCarthy, because for some reason I was like, we haven't talked about him, and he was with Green Bay and he did very well with Green Bay. But it's really Kellen Moore and Dan Quinn that everyone's kind of crediting for this resurgence of the Cowboys, for all the things that have happened. and again, it's one of these ones that it wouldn't surprise me if we see the Cowboys win at all. I mean, it wouldn't. They're the favourites anyway. But I just think that in the first round, that big pressure, almost think it's a disadvantage for Dallas being at home to an extent in the playoffs because the expectation's always so high.
Yeah.
It's even higher on them now, and they'll be feeling that pressure. I just see San Francisco sneaking this. I think it'll be not massively high scoring, but reasonably high scoring. It'll be entertaining, and I think we're looking at something like a 25-20 win for the San Francisco 49ers.
Nice.
I'm kind of hoping, as I say, from a Rams perspective, they do win because if the seeds hold, it means the Rams avoid Green Bay, which has been a bogey team for them. So I do kind of hope that
and a dangerous team this year as well.
Sorry,
and a dangerous team this year.
Yeah,
I think they're favourites to come out of that conference.
What the Packers? Oh yeah, I think they have to be. I mean, the record's the best. The record is joint best with Tampa and
13-4, is it?
13-4. And to be honest with you, they were messing about when they were playing Detroit. I know that Rodgers was in, but
he was only in for half the game.
Yeah.
And
then Hurts threw 2 interceptions and all sorts. And Detroit really, really wanted to win that game, and I think that's great that they we talked about this, but Dan.
Sorry, you said Hurts threw the interceptions.
Did I? Love.
Yeah.
I knew it was Jalen.
Love.
Jordan,
right. Okay. I see what you're saying.
Jalen Love. It's Jordan Love. So I mean, we've talked about it. Dan Campbell is the best 3-win coach or 4-win coach or whatever it is in the NFL history. They've never given up on him, and I think that's incredible. And I think if he got fired, I think that would be a sin. And then I don't think they have. They've not announced it, so
nothing yet. Anyway,
yeah, hopefully. Not.
I think, to be fair, I think the city would not the owners care, but the city would be up in arms if they did.
Yeah,
I think he's earned a little bit of wiggle room. At least a season of wiggle room. And if he goes to they got 3 wins, 4 wins this year. If he could sneak that to 6 wins next year. I mean, it's going to be an uphill battle for him going into next year again.
Yeah.
I think if he shows progress, then why not?
Yeah, if he can get some pieces in the draft, and I mean, whilst I'm glad that Goff's away from the Rams and he's with Lions, I know that we're off topic and we're talking about the Lions now, but I think Goff's shown that he's good enough to get a team to the playoffs. He's done it twice, maybe 3 times with it. 3 times with the Rams. He's good enough to do it. If you give him some pieces, you get him an offensive line, you get him a defense. He's enough that the Lions could be pushing, maybe not into the playoffs, but maybe being 1 or 2 games under 500 next year.
Yeah.
What
is 500?
What's that?
What is 500 these days?
I can't have 500 unless it's 881. And they've got Amon-Ra St. Brown, which was another guy who I rode to fantasy victory with at the end of the season because no one was touching him, and I managed to pick him up and gave me masses of points. So, I think the Detroit Lions get credit for that win, but Green Bay Packers, as I say, they weren't at full Boona when they were playing.
No, they weren't.
You really count that. That's off topic. What was your score prediction for the Dallas San Francisco game?
32-17.
Wow, right. Well, that's 15 points, right enough, as you said, and 15.
I did that maths while we were going.
Cool. Well done. Next game that's on the slate is the last of the Sunday games, although it's at 1:15 in the morning in Britain.
It's also the last game for something else as well, I feel.
Well, yeah, we'll get to that. But it's the Steelers go and travel to Kansas City, Missouri, for what I predict. I mean, I know you've talked about the Eagles, but I actually think this will be worse to watch. I think it'll be worse to watch than the Eagles game. I don't know if it'll be a bigger scoreline. I think it's going to be.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, no, I agree with that. I don't see it being a great game at all. I can see it being, well, I've got it as a 15-point game again.
I think 15 points is fair, but what I'm meaning is that the Pittsburgh Steelers defense is obviously really quite good.
Yep.
But their offense is nigh on unwatchable.
Yep.
I think their defense...
They cannot run the ball.
Yeah. I think their defense could potentially stop the Chiefs a few times, but I don't think their offense is going to be anywhere near the Chiefs.
No, I couldn't agree with you more there. If I'm honest, Rambo, I think that the Steelers' game plan is going to be much what it was on Sunday. Give Ben the ball and hope for some magic.
Yeah.
And if I can see them going down and scoring a couple of touchdowns, I can. I can see TJ Watt getting potentially 3-4 sacks. And that is on Patrick Mahomes, who's one of the most elusive quarterbacks that there is. I can see him having an immense game. Because that defensive line it is special. I don't care what anybody else says. I actually don't know what the stats say. It covers the eye test for me.
Yes.
Every time they come up to line of scrimmage, you're asking where a couple of specific players are.
Yeah.
Who's going to be in that rush? Who's going to drop back? How many are they going to drop? Or are they going to all out blitz? Are they covering it over the top? Now, with Mahomes, they're going to have to. But they also need to pressure him.
Yeah, but they don't.
Because he's fantastic on the run.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I think the Super Bowl last year? Yeah, last year showed you. If you consistently put him under pressure, if you're consistently in his face, and you've got good zone coverage, then he starts to get a little bit out with his game. If you're only bringing pressure now and again, he's got the ability to move out of that, and he's got the confidence to step up in the pocket and get rid of the ball, or move to the side and get rid of the ball. If you've not got that good underneath coverage, he's going to pick you off to Kelsey 9 times out of 10. If you've not got good man coverage down the field, he's going to go all over Tyreek Hill. If you're constantly in his face, he's not got time to get his runners out, which means he has to go wide. And that's where players like TJ Watt, Von Miller, and Aaron Donald, they really thrive going, well, sod you, I'm going through you and I'm going to get him.
Yeah.
Every single play. If it's not every single play, he gets far too comfortable. I realised that was quite, I don't want to say in depth because I wasn't really quoting or picking out any stats, but it's just, for me, the eye test of the game is if the Steelers can just constantly put pressure on him, that is the only way they are going to win. Or it's the only way they're going to keep the score low. To which then you've got, can Big Ben get them down there? And who's their kicker? Is it Boswell? No.
Boswell, yeah, and he's a good kicker. There's no getting away from that.
He's a solid kicker. He's good from medium range, and he can get a long one. So, I mean, I think if there was any chance of the Steelers winning, it would be a low-scoring game with Mahomes going out with an injury early.
I think that's definitely fair. I mean, Chad Henne would possibly change this if he wasn't involved. But Patrick Mahomes, I mean, I know, I look back in that Super Bowl, and, you know, I think you're on NFL UK group as well, and there's a lot of really passionate fans on that, and there was folk kicking off saying Patrick Mahomes is nothing and all this stuff during the Super Bowl, and you're like, Patrick Mahomes
that for me, that was just pure class by Bruce Arians.
Yeah, absolutely. And Patrick Mahomes was the reason they even had a game. And the one thing about Patrick Mahomes last year as well that people forget is Patrick Mahomes went out the game with the Browns hurt. And with a concussion, he wasn't right. He didn't have the same prep. And this year,
step up Chad Henne.
Yeah, step up Chad Henne, and they beat the Browns. But obviously, he comes back in, not had the full prep. But if you get a concussion and stuff, I've had plenty of concussions to know it's not a good feeling. And on top of that, Patrick Mahomes this year has an offensive line that's much better than it was last year. And they have a bit of a defensive identity. So all of that...
Now they do. They didn't at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, well, absolutely. But I think all of that adds up to something, and I know this sounds maybe quite harsh, but this could be the first time I have witnessed a nil in the playoffs. And I truly mean that. And I kind of hope it doesn't happen because I'm not a fan of Big Ben, but I think it would be a horrible way for him to go out. And somebody did tweet that, do they not think low-key Ben Roethlisberger kind of hoped they didn't make the playoffs? Because it would have been nice
for me, I watched the game 17. Game 17? Week 17. His last game at home. My God, that was awful. The whole thing, it was... if I had the career in any sport, if I had the career that Ben Roethlisberger's had, winning a couple of championships, being the centre point of a team for 17, 18 years, and I had the game he had in week 17, and then the spectacle that was made of him at the end, that's not how I would want to be remembered. Now, to get the win in week 18, to make the playoffs as a last playoff push, even if he does go down, if he goes down swinging, I'd much rather that than what happened at the end of the year. Because if they'd lost that game, the only thing that I would remember him for, because both his Super Bowl wins are before my time of being a fan. I've watched both games, but they're before my time of being a fan. That's what I would have remembered them for. Now, it's just that is a blip on the radar, and you see all the good games, the winning seasons, getting picked out in the playoffs. That's what he's remembered for, not the, well, that was a bit shit.
Yeah.
And I'm not the first one to curse on this podcast, and I'm flaming proud of that. You cursed right at the beginning, I'm taking it.
What did I say at the beginning? I can't
remember, but it was something up there.
Well, that's fair enough. Yeah, this one isn't BRHA censored, so I can swear on it if I want, because it's my fucking podcast. So, so there you go. Yeah, I honestly, and I know it sounds harsh, and I know that there'll be people. I think Stuart loves his name. The guy that runs one of the NFL UK sites. He will be cursing my name for saying this, but I genuinely think that this could be possibly, and I hope it isn't, but it could possibly be the first time I've seen a nil in the playoffs. And
I mean, I don't remember seeing one. I think you've probably been watching the NFL longer than I have, so
I don't remember. I mean, the Rams almost did it in the Super Bowl, but that was, a weird game. But I've never seen anyone get nilled, and I think this it's possible. It might not happen. I think their defense is more likely to score than their offense, as far as I'm concerned. And I mean, I'm not saying
back fumble.
Yeah, I'm not saying that I would necessarily say that it's going to be that. I would probably predict something along the lines of about 21 to like 10 or something like that. I don't think it's going to be a nil, but I think it's possible, which is weird because I don't think it's possible in any of the other games. So
yeah.
What did you have down in your score predictor?
Well, I had it down as a 15-point, same as the Cowboys game, but I kind of played the under on it, I think it could be as much as 20 points. So if I was to put a score on it now, I'd be looking at 35-15, which still qualifies me in what we do for the picks as a 5-point margin to get the bonus. If the Chiefs don't have as good a game as we're predicting, it gives me also the, maybe the 21-11 game that it might be. So yeah, I if I was to put money on it, I'd be putting maybe something like a 20, excuse me, a 35-15.
Cool. All right, so that brings us to another historical moment, the first Monday night playoff game, which as soon as I heard there was a Monday night playoff game, my immediate reaction was, don't let it be the Rams. Don't let it be the Rams. I don't want a Monday night game, because it's even more difficult to watch than a Sunday night game if you've got work and stuff. Rams Cardinals, as we reflected on earlier, the two teams from St. Louis. If we're going to know money, obviously division rivals, know each other quite well. They're 1-1 this year. They played each other. They both interestingly won against each other away. And both interestingly, as far as I'm concerned, were fairly convincing away against each other from home. Although I think, to be fair to the Cardinals, when the Rams beat them, I think Kyler Murray went out with an injury part of the way through.
I think you're right on that. It was definitely around that time.
Yeah, I think that was the game he started and perhaps went out during the game. Rams, they both limp into the playoffs with disappointing results. I mean, the Rams lost to the 49ers, who we've talked about as a good team. And the Cardinals lost to the Seahawks, which people have kind of written off and said are rubbish this year. But Seahawks are kind of a weird team that they've had a kind of weird season where they've not been very good. But
they kind of had a bit of a resurgence towards the end of the year.
Yeah,
which
they ended in a win.
Me intently.
Because
I want to see the end of the Pete Carroll, Russell Wilson era. I don't care who stays. I'm just bored of that storyline. And the fact that they did come back and were an all right team towards the end just fuels that fire off. Oh, well, we'll make it one last playoff run with them both. Bollocks.
I kind of hope they trade Russell Wilson to the Denver Broncos just to annoy you.
I mean, I would love that. Not only the fact that we're getting a decent quarterback, that would potentially, if they could push that through, it would also maybe get us a decent head coach, because I don't see any head coaches, and we can do a New Horizons Monday if we wanted to later. I don't see the Denver job being interesting to anybody because they've got bugger all at quarterback.
That's true.
Teddy's been fine, and you can't give him any more than fine.
Mm-hmm.
And I realise we've started on the Rams-Cardinals game and we've got completely off topic, and I'm about to start a rant, and I'm going to stop myself. It's not. Just not. You're not going to attract a good head coach with the quarterback room you've got there. We said this at the beginning of the year. The rest of the pieces, defense, B. Wide receivers, B+. Tight ends, B+ to A-, I'd say, if they're all healthy. Quarterback, shag all. I'm sorry, it's true.
Yeah. Although we almost got, the Rams almost got cursed by it, because that Von Miller thing where he got traded to the Rams, and they said, he put that tweet out, I went to bed 4-4 and woke up 7-1, and then the Rams had a 3-game losing streak. So, but I have to say, as I say, both teams come in a bit disappointed probably with the results from the final game of the season, because if the Cardinals win, they're the home team in this game, and if the Rams win, they're the number 2 seed and they're facing the Saints, which, as I discussed at the top of the show,
it's a disgusting turn of events for Rams fans, I'll tell you that.
What? Yeah.
The fact that you're now no longer playing the Saints, you are playing the Cardinals, which could quite well knock you off.
Yeah. Now, my problem with the Rams game, and I'm going to will bring us in a bit of a New Horizons Monday. My problem with the Rams game was not the fact that the San Francisco 49ers were very good in coming back and they're a very good team. So we didn't lose to a rubbish team. Losing a 17-point comeback happens all the time in the NFL now. It's not unheard of. What disappointed me with the Rams was the decision-making around the play calling, both on offense and defense. And as much as I love Sean McVay, and most of the girls I know love Sean McVay because he's a bit of a dish.
You've been rewatching Hard Knocks?
I did watch a bit of Hard Knocks, but the decision when the Rams were up 17-0 and were on 3rd and inches to stand in a shotgun snap and throw a pass was one of the dumbest decisions I have ever seen. When you've got a quarterback like Matthew Stafford, who's pretty strong, an offensive line who's reasonably good. And the other thing was you were just stopping the clock and giving the 49ers more time before halftime to get their field goal. That started it. That was the first thing. That caused it to be 17-3 going into the half. Then, for
keep
whatever
that train of thought. The only counter to that is I don't disagree with anything you said apart from the dumbest decision. Russell Wilson over Lynch.
I'd forgot about that, and I'm being a bit more impassioned than perhaps I should be. Yeah, the Russell Wilson decision was the dumbest decision I've ever seen.
I will give you second place.
No, second place. The next decision, the play calling, what they were doing, I don't know. The play calling and defense, you've got the best quarterback, one of the best cornerbacks in the league in Jalen Ramsey, and they're playing zone again, or it appeared to play zone, or none of them were paying attention. One of the two against the 49ers with Deebo Samuel and Ayuk running ragged. You've got Darius Williams, who's pretty decent, and Taylor Rapp and stuff. Why are you not covering them? Like, I could not understand.
You're not going to get an argument out of me on that one, Rambo. You're just not. I didn't watch the game. I haven't even watched it on catch up.
Mm-hmm.
But it did seem, from everything I've listened to and read, Sean McVay had a bit of a brain fart on Sunday.
Yeah, that's exactly Sean McVay and the defensive coordinator, because at the end of the game, the Rams, after the sort of slump they had, managed to get stopped. I can't remember how many yards it was exactly, but they went down the field, scored a touchdown. It was really well executed, the drive, and it was brilliant. They then get a 3 and out after that with just over 2 minutes left. And the 49ers punt. And then they would do 3 of the worst run play. Like, they weren't creative. They were just pump it up the middle and basically make San Francisco waste their timeouts. And in 3rd and 7, with Matthew Stafford, who had kind of come back from being he has he always has these little meltdowns where he's kind of rubbish for like 10 minutes. He was firing at that point.
He does a Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah, exactly.
Go back a couple of conversations.
Yeah, he does. And instead of trying to throw to convert the 3rd down and get a 1st down and then win the game, they basically have a lay down run play to make the 49ers use their last time out and then punt to them, trusting their defense that had managed to heat up a bit during that second part of the second half. And then the defensive play calling again was prevent. There wasn't cover. And it led to, again, them marching down the field and scoring a touchdown. Then in overtime, again, it was sort of prevent until they got in the red zone. And that was, I suppose, fine, because all they wanted to do was stop them scoring a touchdown and win the game automatically. At that point, when Stafford throws the interception, I'm not too fussed about it, although it was first and 10, and they had chances to kind of just, do it slightly more conservatively at that point after being conservative at other points they shouldn't have been. But a tie wasn't, they didn't want a tie, and I understand that. I would have rather they lost than tied, because all a tie was going to do was drop a seeding place and end up playing the 49ers again, which are a bogey team for the Rams. So I think throwing the pass, if it had come off Odell Beckham Jr. scoring a touchdown, the Rams are a second seed, and 49ers are heartbroken and the Saints are in the playoffs. So at that point, whilst I was disappointed he threw the interception, it was that time. The problem on that series, though, was the fact that Odell Beckham Jr. looked like he was in a different planet, and it went into the sort of the mould we saw him in a bit with the Browns, where he ran the wrong route in a play and then got in the way of a pass meant for Cooper Kupp.
Yeah.
Dropped one and then obviously got intercepted. It was mentioned he could have maybe made a play on the ball. I don't think he could have. But
was that Dan Hansis that you're
Dan Hansis said that.
chipping at
I
there?
don't think. I think he was ahead of the defender, and was sort of he wouldn't have been able to stop and come back in time for the defender to play.
By that, do you mean it was an underthrown ball, or had he gone too far?
It was underthrown because he had beaten his man. If Matt Stafford had thrown the passes we know he's capable of.
Two questions for you then. I realise you kind of gone on a bit of a rant there, and I just let you go because I feel it was good for your mental health to get it out there. Two questions for you on that then, okay? Part one, who would you rather have going into these games with the season that you've had? Who would you rather have? Matthew Stafford, Jared Goff, or Baker Mayfield?
I would rather have Matthew Stafford. I'm being honest.
Okay.
You definitely.
Part B to that, knowing that where you would go with that, who would you rather have, Matthew Stafford or Jimmy Garoppolo? Now, there's a question. I see them as the same quarterback.
I think I'd rather have Stafford because I think he's more capable of making the massive long throws that at times this season when the Rams have been slow have made a massive difference. There's been 2 or 3 touchdowns, not to Kupp, just Kupp, because Kupp is a yards after the catch guy as well. But there's been 2 or 3 times this season where he's went Van Jefferson and thrown a 50-yard, 60-yard, 70-yard touchdown. And I don't think Garoppolo's capable of those. That's the main difference of the two. But
question 2, go on. No, I'll let you finish off.
The one thing that's a difference between Garoppolo and Matthew Stafford, and I know you're going to cite the roster, is Jimmy Garoppolo has taken a team past the first round of the playoffs. So
the Lions, hello?
They've never been past the first round of the playoffs.
My point, they're terrible. Anyway. Question 2, while we're here, who would you rather have at this point in the season and the playoffs? Somebody that's got unbelievable talent, and you just said it yourself, switches off for plays, but if you need an unreal play, he's your man, OBJ, or Mike Evans, who you know exactly where he's going to be every single play. You can throw him the ball, and you're not going to get that much after the catch, but you're going to get 7 to 9 yards every single play. Who would you rather have?
Mike Evans every day.
Good choice.
Yeah, there's no way I'd rather have. Anyway, I would rather have Mike Evans over Odell Beckham Jr. Maybe if you'd asked me that question 7 years ago, whenever Odell Beckham Jr. was the dominant wide receiver, it would be different. And he's got that capability. I mean, some of the plays he's made for the Rams, even for the Browns, have been fantastic. But
unreal plays, but they're far too far, few and far between for me. But
I tell you what, in terms of rather have, and this is the one reason I think the Rams are going to win this game, is I'd rather have
Cooper Kupp.
I'd rather have Cooper Kupp, Aaron Donald, and Jalen Ramsey over anyone on that Cardinals team.
I am hurt We've not talked about the Cardinals at all, but I am hurt that you didn't mention Von Miller there. Hurt.
Well, Von Miller as well, but it's just, I suppose, because he's a trade, I don't kind of, we've mentioned, but we need to talk about the Cardinals. The Cardinals,
we do, and I think I realise I just let you ramble, because I felt, even just with our text messages before and like small text messages throughout the year, there's been a lot of pent up anger with the Rams this year. So, and I can't really disagree with anything you said there. I feel that in terms, if we're looking at the Rams from the Cardinals from an outside point of view. Now, I had Kyler Murray as my fantasy quarterback this year, which was an amazing start and jack all after. He's been very good from a fantasy point of view. The frustration he showed on the sidelines on Sunday was unmatched. He wanted to go for it on 3rd and long. He wanted to go for it on 4th and short, 4th and medium. He wanted players in positions that they just weren't. I don't know what's going on with the offense in Arizona. Sorry. I couldn't get Carolina because it was Cardinals out of my head. I knew I was wrong. I didn't want to say it. I just don't know what's going on with them because they started off so well. Murray's got so much potential on the ground with moving around in the pocket as well as just going straight up the middle or going around the outside. There's just not been that cohesion between the players in the second half of the season. And their defense has kept them in games, but had some awful periods of play as well. Not a full game of being crap, not a full game of being very good. It's very up and down and you don't know what you're going to get. Now, I can't say that I've been in depth with the Cardinals, like looking at their games right, left and centre. I've pretty much taken what Red Zone's given me when I've been able to watch it. But there just doesn't seem to be that team with them this year. There's plays and there's spurts and there's sections of games where they're unreal.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also, what are you doing? What? No, like that's just what I feel like I'm saying to the Cardinals.
I thought you were saying that.
Like you're looking at them. I know. I did see Blaze behind you and go, what are you doing? No, like there's points where you're just like, Kyler makes a bad decision, or somebody runs the wrong route, or it's a tipped ball and it's intercepted. There's no easy road for them. And I don't think it's going to be an easy game for them here either.
No, I don't. And I think, I know that they talk about it, as I say, we talked about the Round the NFL podcast. I don't think we make any secret of the fact that we listen to that regularly. They talk about get right games. If the Rams are going to do anything in this playoffs, this game, it doesn't need to be perfect, but the play calling needs to be right, and they need to grow a set of balls and go for it. And it weirdly,
as long as they're properly inflated.
Yeah. Well, weirdly, Sean McVay, I used to think was a little bit more daring. And he's not been this season. He's blinked.
I completely agree with you there. And you're, like I say, you're the Rams fan. You watch them week in, week out.
Mm.
That is the exact impression that I get from him.
Yeah, he's
daring, but it's silliness. It's not committed to his game plan.
Yeah.
His game plan is be aggressive, be almost extroverted with it.
Yeah.
There's not been that. It's been daringly stupid.
Yeah. Oh, and the variety of play calling has not been great at times where against the 49ers, we can't run through the middle. They stop it. But there was one end around in the whole game and it made 20 yards. Now, I'm not saying you're going to do it the whole game because then they're going to cover that, and you're not going to be able to do it. But there was no variety.
Yeah, but if you put in a jet sweep now and again, if you put in a couple of power plays, like power runs, you're going to get the opportunity for that. Put in some shotgun dropbacks, because then you've got they don't know when it's coming. But if you go to that as your game plan and we'll plan around that, why not? That is being aggressive and going into the playbook that you know, rather than trying to play catch up because you've made a mistake. You've not stuck to your game plan. You've tried to plan around them, which I feel from an outside point of view is what Sean McVay has done a lot this year. He's tried to outplan the opponent as opposed to stick to the identity of the Rams.
Yeah, and to wrap it all up, because we have talked a lot about, obviously, this game, because it's one where one of us has a stake in it, I suppose, more than the others.
Well, I've got no stake in the playoffs. Rub that in. Well done.
Yeah, but this is the biggest issue isn't necessarily the offense and Sean McVay. The defensive play caller, I can't remember his name off the top of my head. I'm being honest, I don't remember all the coordinators. And this is where I'm talking about new horizons, possibly. The Rams need to make a play for one of these defensive minds that might be available now that's been sacked. I think it's unrealistic that Brian Flores is going anywhere where he's not a head coach. But if they can get
Jordan Fuller? Jordan Fuller?
Jordan Fuller.
Oh, no, he's a play caller, not the player.
Sorry. Okay, I'm talking about the player. Basically, I think the Rams need to consider getting a new defensive coordinator for next season. They lost not Stefanski, the coach of the Chargers, whose name now escapes me, even though he was fantastic for them. And their defense was the best in the league last year. Their defense has actually got better players this year and is worse. And I think that's the play calling. I don't think it's aggressive enough with the talent you've got. They had 1 week where Ramsey was really good because they were getting him to actually rush the passer sometimes. And I think they forget how good he is, because I think he sacked the quarterback, or he got a stop for loss or something. And it was unusual because he doesn't normally find himself in the backfield. He's clearly capable, and they don't use him. They've got him playing zone and then making tackles after the catch, and it's useless. Get aggressive. This game, I think you've got a better roster. I think the Rams will win. I think it'll still be close, because I think we'll find a way to make it close. But I think it will be something like 30-25 at the end of this game for the Rams. And if all holds, that would see them go to Tampa Bay, who they have beaten this season. But we'll see that when it happens. Do you want to do a pod next week for the next round?
I could have just said it on camera. I was trying to be sneaky and put a little message in there. Balls to you, Rambo.
Oh, yes, because otherwise, if we start talking about the whole bracket, we're going to be here forever. And also kind of fun to catch up and do this, and I'm quite enjoying it, obviously, or I wouldn't be spraffing on so much.
It might be a quicker podcast next week if the Rams go out.
If the Rams go out, it'll be quicker. Equally, it might not be. There might be a whole, Dan Hansis, I'm not even mad anymore. It's kind of.
Welcome back to week 2 of Rambo Rants.
Yeah, So that's that. That's my. What's your prediction for this game? What have you got in your score bracket?
I've got Rams by 9.
That sounds fair as well. As I say, I wouldn't be surprised if it's closer. I wouldn't be surprised if it's further apart, and I won't be surprised if the Cardinals win, because these two teams know each other. The Cardinals, it's normally a weird cycle in the NFC West between 3 of the teams.
One beats one beats the other, one beats the other,
But the Cardinals are kind of out of it. They kind of drifted and out of who they get beat by. Anyway, to cap off, I have done a playoff bracket this year, all the way, and I'm going to give you a guess as to who I've got winning the Super Bowl.
Oh, geez, right. Give me 2 seconds. Completely unprepared for that.
Well, that's how it get you.
Yeah, cheers, mate.
Nice. Come here. Who's that? Blaze is going to say he supports the Rams as well because he's a sheepdog.
Wow, Rambo, that's terrible.
Well, I can tell everyone why I'm a big Rams fan. So my grandpa and I used to go to the NFL, and the Rams cheerleaders were the first cheerleaders he met, and it was always what he wanted to do. Well, it wasn't always what he wanted to do. He wanted to watch the games and stuff, but he always wanted to be the cheerleaders, and he finally got to be the Rams cheerleaders. So
makes sense.
That's why I became a Rams fan. And that and the Washington team name was racist. I didn't realise at first. You and I both know.
I feel I've got two answers for you.
Okay.
I feel what you want to see is Bucks Pats.
What I want to see is Bucks Pats. Absolutely not. Not in any shape or form. If that happens, I hope it goes to infinity overtime and then they just cancel the game.
Brady walks across to Belichick and goes, we'll just call it off because I can't be bothered anymore.
Saw it in half.
Exactly. No, are you talking about overall winner or Super Bowl matchup?
Well, give me your Super Bowl matchup and who you think I've got as the overall winner, because I think it will surprise you.
Okay. Super Bowl matchup, I have got Kansas City, Green Bay.
Okay. That's not right.
With Green Bay taking it.
Well, you got one of the teams right. You got Green Bay right. But I have both one seeds making the playoff, making the Super Bowl. I have the Titans.
I never even thought about the Titans.
I have the Titans.
Never even considered them.
And I'll tell you why I have the Titans winning the Super Bowl. You'll remember the Week 7 podcast we done. I had Derrick Henry as my backdrop.
Yep.
And at that point,
I've got a point on this, and you go. I will retort.
I made a point at that point of saying that the Titans were absolutely phenomenal, and they were going to be the best thing since sliced bread. They were then quite rubbish the following week in the game after I said this, and I was like, my take was awful. And they're going to be bad this season. But recently, without Derrick Henry, they've shown that they can run the ball, they can win games, and even when they look really bad, they're winning games. And as someone who's supported Scottish rugby for a long time, I know that looking good all the time, not that Scottish rugby always does, but looking good and losing is worse than looking bad and winning. And I think that they're just going to find a way to win this. I don't know how it could be the most hideous Super Bowl we've ever seen, but I think they're going to go to the Super Bowl and win it. What was your point on the Derrick Henry in the backdrop?
I worry. It's a genuine worry that everybody I've spoken to, everybody I've listened to, has said, well, Derrick Henry back then. I worry he's not going to be what everybody expects him to be. He's been out for a long time, and the Titans, like you said, have found a way to win. I don't want to say I believe, but there's just this niggle just here that says he's actually going to be the cog that breaks the Titans this year, because he's the unknown. They don't know what they're going to get from him because he's only coming back from injury. And it was a fairly substantial injury. So do they then say, okay, well, we know what we're getting from Derrick Henry. Give him the ball. Let him run it 56 times a game. Is he going to be able to do that the first game back? Because their first game back, they cannot slip up. If they slip up, they're gone. It's not like he can come back week 16 and get on the treadmill and start at 10K an hour and he's fine. Then he can go to 12, then he can go to 18K, and then it's the play. He's not got that running.
Mm-hmm.
So they've got a decent runner. I'm not even going to attempt to remember his name. That they've been working well with. You could be doing the research in the background here while I'm spraffing crap.
Yeah, well, I'm going to see if I can find them because I actually used them to help my fantasy team because I knew.
Perfect. You should know who he is straight off the bat. But they've got a decent enough running game at the moment. They're getting just enough from Tannehill and the wide receivers to get by in games. They're winning games. Is Derrick Henry going to come in and upset the apple cart by them going back to the game plan that they know and then not being ready?
I think that's a fair point. I think there's every.
It's not what I necessarily think is going to happen. I just think it's just every time there's been a conversation. Oh well, Derrick Henry's back. Oh well, Henry's going to run the ball. Oh, Henry's. I just don't know if it's going to be that easy.
Yeah, well, I think that's perfectly fair. Oh, that's what's wrong with my thing. It's not showing me the playoff teams. Damn you. Because it was showing me the playoff teams and it's now not doing that. Anyway, I'm sure it was Foreman or something like that. But they brought in a new. Well, in fact, even the week after they lost Derrick Henry, they brought in Adrian Peterson off the couch, and
he got injured the first game as well.
No, I don't know if he got injured or he got cut, but anyway. They still ran the ball against the Rams in that game without Derrick Henry, and everyone thought, oh, it's an easy game now. It's not.
Foreman, Hilliard, and Tannehill were the top leading rushers in the Texas game.
That's right. So I knew it was Foreman was one of them, and there's Hilliard as well. And
69 yards for Foreman and 57 for Hilliard, and Tannehill got -2, which says to me it was 2 kneels.
Yeah. I mean, I just think they're going to find a way. I know that. I mean, I think that they're smart enough, and they've got him in their building. They know what he's going to be running like because they're going to have a look at him. They've got a bye, so they've got more time to get him prepped.
You and I we've both played at a relatively high level in hockey.
Mm.
You take time out from playing hockey, whether it be injury, getting benched, or just not having players.
Yeah.
You are not banging on the first play.
No, I don't think he will be. But if they've got these other two, and they've got an offensive line,
are they going to dress 3 runners?
You never know. I mean, it's not something I would think they would normally do. But
bring back the halfback.
The fullback, you mean?
Shush.
Well, I suppose that's the thing is we don't have halfbacks anymore. If these 3 guys are effective, you never know. The play that might win a game for the Tennessee Titans is Derrick Henry on the field. Everyone thinks it's going Derrick Henry. It's play action and Tannehill throws a bomb to AJ Brown. You just don't know, and I just think they're going to find a way to win the Super Bowl. I've got a feeling about it. I'll probably be wrong. They'll probably get knocked out by the Bengals or the Raiders or whoever in their first game before we even get to the conference final. But if they do, so be it. But that's who I've got winning the Super Bowl against Green Bay. As you know, partisan as I am, I do have the Rams making the conference round, somehow sneaking past the Bucks and losing to Green Bay losing to Green Bay, who go to the playoffs finally. And would it not be poetic after all the nonsense that went on during the summer with Aaron Rodgers if he got to the Super Bowl and got humiliated?
Oh, see, no, I don't want that. That's just me just being me. But
I think he's a nominal talent, but he's an arse.
Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. I don't necessarily think that he's that bad. There's a lot worse.
Oh, absolutely.
Do I think he's up himself a little bit? Yes, but I think at that level of talent and being at that level of your individual sport, well, that doesn't bode well.
No song.
My battery's just gone into power save mode. Give me 10 seconds.
Oh. Well, we don't have the power of editing because I'm not very good at this.
Well, I just didn't plug it in. Give me 2 seconds. There we go.
Doing really well here.
Yeah, back.
Right. So
I just didn't plug it into the wall.
You don't think he's that bad?
I just think he knows he's damn good, and I think he's misunderstood, and that's a terrible way of putting it. No, I do. I genuinely do.
That's how parents who are ashamed of their children's behaviour describe them. He's just misunderstood.
I do. I think he can be a petulant child at points. I do. He is. He knows how good he is.
Oh yeah.
And he's not had the resources around him. So he said, well, why am I still here? And it's a conversation for another day if we're going down that road.
Yeah. I mean...
It's just, I think he's, okay, maybe misunderstood might be wrong. Maybe he's misrepresented in the media. Media.
Possibly. And as I say, I think he does bring a lot of it on himself. I'm not sure how cool I am with players that deliberately incite the opposition fans.
I'm completely all right with that. I've got a point on him. To a certain extent.
Yeah.
When he turns around to the Chicago fans and shouts, "I own you," not an issue with that. Heated rivalry. He's shouting at the fans after scoring and then goes immediately back to his teammates after shouting 3 things. Might have said it 4 times. But it was addressed in the media and he went, yeah, and?
Yeah, well, I mean, he owned up to it.
Look at the score.
Yeah, he owned up to it. However, as a Pars fan,
where are you going with this?
But as a Pars fan, if a Wraith Rovers player scored a hat-trick against you and won 3-0 and ran over to, where is it, East End Park or whatever, where is it they play? I can't remember.
East End, in Northumberland, yep, keep going.
East End Park. They ran over to I'm going to say the North Stand because I don't know the names of any of the stands.
Nora McCarthy, keep going.
Right. And then they shouted, "I own you." Do you not think that, how would you feel about that player as a Pars fan?
If he had scored a hat-trick in the previous 10 fixtures, fair point.
Right, fair enough.
But it's not just a one-off for Rodgers in that respect. He does own them metaphorically. He's shown consistently that he is outmatched. So he outmatches the Chicago Bears. That's where I'm okay with it. It's not just a one-off. Get it up, yeah. I've scored. I've consistently taken you apart and fed you your own leg.
Right, okay. That's fair. I suppose
that's the point I don't have an issue with.
Right. So
if it was for example, if it was Brady, the first game back against the Pats, and they destroyed them, and he went, "I own you," I've got an issue with that. No, you don't.
Yeah.
You've beaten them. Fair play. Tip of the cap.
Okay, well, let's put another scenario to you. Patrick Mahomes destroys the Chicago Bears and goes over to the fans and shouts, "You should have drafted me." Are you okay with that?
No issue with it. No issue with it.
Because it's factually correct.
Correct.
Right, fair enough.
As much as I don't know if it comes across, I'm a very pragmatic fan.
The reason I'm asking you this, right, and the reason I brought up the Pars example is because I know for a fact, right, having been to a Dundee United derby a while back, that a Dundee United player scores a penalty and then goes over, I think it's the Bobby Shanks end or whatever it is, goes over as this big, pose, right? and I saw a coin coming towards him. Now, I don't think that's right from a fan ever. It doesn't matter if the player whips his willy out. You shouldn't be, not that a player should do that either, but you know what I mean? He should not be inciting the crowd, the player, but no fan should ever throw anything on a football pitch, on a rugby pitch, or an ice rink, or anything. The reason I asked that is because I guess from our Scottish fandom, it's almost like, well, don't incite the crowd. Whereas in America, it seems to be a bit more tolerated. It's a little bit more WWE culture, I would say, in a way.
Yeah.
Where it's getting heat. Because the fans now from Chicago, they want to see him get his ass kicked. Yeah. So they'll tune into the playoffs to hope that he gets his ass kicked. So in a way,
that adds to the brand of the NFL. It adds to the drama. It adds to the rivalry between the two clubs. I have zero issue with it. Nothing. Like if LeBron came back and just whipped Cleveland's arse in the NBA playoffs, I don't know if it would happen. And he turned around and went, "I own you." I've got an issue with that.
Yeah, well, fair enough. Fair enough.
I do.
I don't think he would ever do that.
I've always said, like, even like watching football, I'm a Liverpool fan. I like to see Liverpool do well. I like to see Dunfermline do well. If it's a penalty against them, if they failed somebody, it's a penalty. I'm not going to go, "Oh, that's a terrible ref. That's shocking." It's never, it bloody was. Play the game within the rules. If it's a penalty, it's a penalty. If it's a free kick, it's a free kick. If it's a penalty shot in hockey, it's a penalty shot. I won't be happy about it, but I can't argue the rules.
Yeah.
And it's the same with that. I'm not, like, as a Chicago fan, I'm not, but if I was, I wouldn't be happy with that. I cannot argue the fact that Rodgers owns us.
I think that's a fair point. I still would quite like to see him get spanked, though, I'm being honest. But so who have you got in the? Let me think who you've got in the play. So I think you've got the Chiefs, and I'm going to say that you've got the Bucks as well, and you've got a rematch.
Close.
So the Chiefs are right, I would think. Have you got the Packers then?
I have the Packers, but you're wrong on the Chiefs.
Oh, the only other logical team I would say is Patriots. Oh, good Lord! Oh, that's offensive on so many levels.
This is from a Denver fan.
Oh dear. So you've got the Packers
with a Green Bay win, I might add.
Yeah, you must have the Packers winning that, I would think. It's perfectly feasible. It's perfectly feasible that they scheme up enough to get to the Super Bowl. I don't think it will happen. I think this is a year too early for Mac Jones in some respects. In terms of
that's why I don't have them winning. If I'm honest, I think Bill Belichick can scheme around a chicken's bum, but he still needs everybody to be at the right level at the right time.
Yeah.
I've also never used that expression before in my life.
Scheme around the chicken's bum. Well, that's. I mean, it's good we've got to that point because we've now previewed the playoffs to some extent. We've previewed the wild card round. There was a significant amount of time dedicated to the Los Angeles Rams there.
I so hope they go out.
I do apologise.
Do you want to do a podcast next week? Are the Rams in it? Yes. Nope.
But it made for a good impassioned speech. I've not done one of them for a while since the last time the Beagles played, I think it was. So it's that's the playoffs. I don't want to hit too much on all the coaching firings and stuff because one, I don't know enough about coaching other than the big named coaches or the coaches that you can tell know what they're doing. Other than to say I was surprised by Brian Flores being fired. And
yeah, it was a bit. Yeah, I thought he'd done enough to at least get one more year at the whip.
Yeah. I know, and I was going to ask you your opinion on this. I heard this through the grapevine that Dan Quinn, bless his cotton socks, after he's done with the Cowboys, is going to interview with the Broncos, and he is the bookie's favourite to become the next head coach of the Broncos. How do you feel about having another defensive mastermind as your coach rather than offensive?
Wrong coordinator. 2 words.
Do you think it should
wrong
be
coordinator?
Yeah.
But I do go back to my previous comment of I don't think we're going to get the right person because we have the wrong quarterback.
Yeah, I think if the offensive coordinator of Dallas, Kellen Moore, he's going to go somewhere where they've got a quarterback in place, or at least a chance to pick one up or draft one.
The question is with that, where? Because I don't see him staying in Dallas unless they move him up and get rid of Mike McCarthy, which I don't see them doing because they made the playoffs. If they hadn't made the playoffs, that was the right move for Dallas for me.
Yeah. Jerry Jones is also very, 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 very patient, I think. I mean, Des Bryant was there and paid for a bit longer than he should have been.
So was Wes Welker.
Yeah. And Wes Welker was Denver.
I'm thinking the wrong person. Who am I thinking of?
Jason Witten.
Witten, sorry, yes.
So I don't see McCarthy being fired, although, as you and I have both discussed, and I think many that listen and many that don't listen would agree, that possibly more than anywhere else, Dallas owe their success not to their head coach in terms of scheming and getting the plays right, but to their coordinators. Because I think
this year, I could not agree more.
Normally, with the Rams, we were criticising McVay. With the Patriots, we all credit Belichick. Sorry, no matter what he does, no matter who may be doing it. We know of Josh McDaniels, but we know that Belichick's really where the buck stops. And Dan Campbell, the reason that the Lions have been watchable this year is Dan Campbell, because he took over play calling duty from Anthony Lynn. We know all these things. I didn't even know Anthony Lynn was at the Lions.
You only knew that he was no longer at the Chargers.
Yeah, that's all I knew. And from all that, I think Dallas is the one team where you're like, I've got Kellen Moore and Dan Quinn. They're, that's why they're doing well. And I think that both of those coaches are going to get offers for head coaching jobs. Whether or not they find the right fit for them, because I think it's a big step for a coach to, for example, does Kellen Moore really want to go to Jacksonville and take a risk of being in a kind of rubbish organisation that doesn't seem to have any direction, and then potentially puts off suitors for him in the future?
Exactly. For me, it's the Josh McDaniels effect.
Yeah.
I think Josh McDaniels could be an absolutely cracking head coach.
Not the
but he went to Denver. He went to Denver at the wrong time.
Yeah. Anyway,
shot himself in the foot. Anyway, yes.
I think we should call it a night tonight. I think there's less games to talk about next week, which is good.
Thank God for that.
It's a purposes. It will only be 4 games instead of 6. We'll see who's there. And we can have a little chat next week about it. That porter, the review on the craft beer was passable. If you like a porter, it was okay, but it's not a craft beer that I would pick again.
Whiskey was lovely.
Mm-hmm. What was the whiskey? What malt was it?
It was my Christmas present of a bottle of Glenmorangie from Daddy Dave, Louise's dad.
Okay, I thought Daddy Dave. He went with Daddy Dave. I was like, "Where's what? How?"
No, what? just Louise's dad.
Yeah.
On both of our phones as Daddy Dave.
Fair play. So thank you, Kenny, for taking the time out to do this. thank to YouTube for scrubbing through this for copyright. I'm sure it will take you a while. I will speak to you next.
I take it Fiona's going to be working late putting the beeps in for the expletives.
You mean Lindsay?
I do. I was thinking of Barry. My apologies.
I can't edit this anyway.
Good.
But shout out to Barry.
There we go.
And his wife in Boston. I thought they were in Boston for some reason. She's got pals in Boston.
Are you sure you can't edit this out?
No.
Cool.
They'll have switched. If they started watching, they'll have switched off by now anyway, so I wouldn't worry about it.
Most people have switched out 20 minutes in. We're now 2 hours in.
We've enjoyed ourselves.
We have, and it's been eventful.
Yeah, and so I bid you all a good night, day, morning, whatever you listen to this to. If you are listening to, if you got this far, congratulations or commiserations, whatever. Thank you very much.